Welcome back to Startup Hack. With my 25 years of development experience, here at Startup Hack, we turn beginners into full-stack developers in as little as 3 months. Today, we're going to dive in and talk about some C#.NET tips and tricks. Now, I know everybody develops just a little bit differently, but I really want to be able to jump in and give you guys some really good coding samples, and we're going to dive into some code today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to dive into some C# and .NET tips and tricks. Now, one of the first things is I really want to make sure that you understand that this is tips and tricks. We're not going to go into every single piece of code. I always provide the code samples for you, so make sure you check out the link down below and go pull down the code samples because there's hundreds of different code samples out there, and we give them to you all for free because we love training software developers here at Startup Hack. All right, so we're going to start off talking about some use of records. So records introduced in C#10 are a reference type that provides a concise syntax for defining immutable data objects. Unlike classes, records automatically provide implementations for value equality and can significantly reduce boilerplate code. Now, the purpose is to simplify the creation of objects that are primarily used to store data without any type of behavior. And I remember the first time that I really started to use them, I really started to love them. So let's look here at an example of a record. So here we have the record product or product record object, which we pass in these parameters. And once we pass in these parameters, we can see that when I run this, it would produce like the title of that. But let's go take a look at the implementation of this here, right? So this is what a record would look like in that case then. So it allows us just to produce this record and gives us that example of a record, right? And then we can use that object very simply and right away. All right, the next thing that we're going to dive into and talk a little bit about is using tuples and tuple pattern matching. So tuple pattern matching is a feature introduced in C#8 that allows developers to match and deconstruct tuples directly within switch expressions. This provides a more concise and readable way to handle complex conditional logic involving multiple values. So the purpose here is to improve the readability and maintainability of code by reducing complex if-else changes. So let's dive in here. So we can see a tuple example here. So we get product by ID of type 2, and then we get the short description of that product. So this allows us to then select the product by an ID and then to be able to get its short description. So let's go take a look at these here. Let's go to implementation. So we can see the get product by ID is going to return a product, and this is a static method here just because we're using them that way. And it will allow us to then go and get the single ID via using a link statement. And so this becomes very, very handy as we are working with these tuples, right? So that's how we get the product ID, and then we can see the get short description. And now you notice that we're using the var keyword here, right? But this is actually returning a product. So let's go look what the product type is here. And let's go to implementation. And we can see here that the way this is working is it's going to get a product. So let's go look at our product code. So you can see that this is just a standard looking class, right? But we're able to go and get these and instantiate these up using the new keyword and building out these objects as such, right? So this allows us to use a tuple pattern matching, and we can see, and again, all of this code's runnable, so make sure you download the projects. And so you can see as we run this, so we can put a breakpoint here. Let's put our breakpoint right here and give this guy a run. Gives my computer just a second here to start up and run. And we can see that this product that it's retrieving here, hover over this guy, we can see that the product that it's retrieving is this, and then we can say get short description. Let's go ahead and step into this code here. And we can say that the product and the product description. So if we go look at the available products and the status, we can see this switch statement here, which allows us to be really efficient in the way that we're doing this, these switch statements and the coding of them. Much cleaner than your old traditional switch statement. It's cranky that it doesn't want us to run this in real time. So we're just going to run that to here and print this guy out. So you'll be able to see that it goes, chips have been ordered, but still available, right? So that's a very simple way to use these switch statements using tuples. All right. jump back into our presentation here. So avoid returning null. This practice involves designing methods to return non-null values such as empty collections or default objects instead of null. This approach helps to avoid null reference exceptions and reduces the need for extensive null checks in the code. And we all know that our favorite thing is getting those null reference exceptions. Those can be so terrible to hunt down. So the reason we do this is to create more robust and reliable code by limiting potential null reference errors. All right, so you can see here that we say go get available products, right? And so we're going to return those products again. And there you can see we're going to return an IEnumerable of products. You could also use a list, right? And in fact, we're going to use a list here. And we select where the products are available. And then rather, we can actually check and say, hey, is there any of these? And if so, return the available product. Otherwise, return an empty enumerable. So this would return a list, right? So that we don't return null. Otherwise, we'd have to make sure that on the other side that we are catching the null and handling this, whereas instead we can just use it, wrong one, we can just use it and not be worried about it. You notice that we do a .count without having to check, and this could be a potential use example where we would hit a null reference exception. All right, jump back over here. Next one, eliminate unneeded context. So this principle involves naming methods, classes, and variables in a clear and concise manner, avoiding redundant or overly verbose names. This helps makes the code more intuitive and easier to understand. So we want to be able to make the code readable and self-explanatory while still being able to convey its purpose. So let's take a look here. So you can see here now in unneeded context, right? We just have a product, a class, products, and we can add these and then delete. So pretty obvious to add and delete. We don't need to say add product, right? Or like you can just say add because it's redundant if we say add product, right? Because it's a product class. So by naming this correctly and by naming these, we can know that the add method is on the products class. We don't need to say add products and we don't need to say delete products, right? These really helpful verbs is also true while you're working with APIs, but also even in the programming itself as well. All right, last but not least, parse JSON streams. Parsing JSON streams refers to the process of reading and deserializing JSON data directly from a stream, such as a file or a network response, using modern .NET features like JSON Node. This approach is efficient and can handle large JSON payloads without loading the entire content into memory. So we want to be able to do this while being able to handle large data sets in real-time data streams. All right, so we can see here that we can parse a JSON from a large JSON file. We then can run it and can grab the count from this very simply, right? This parse JSON stream, let's go take a look at how we're implementing this. So we can see that we're using async. Always use async. I think that was in a previous video here. And then we give it the file. We open the file, and this way the rest of the code can continue on to read and not worry about this. And then we deserialize this into and return just the node. So right, all we're returning is just the list of the products. So in this case now, what we're going to do is we parse it, and then we can go right to using these properties right off the bat. 2 lines of code, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Now, if we let this run, all of this again is runnable code. So make sure you pull down our code samples. Do you agree? Do you disagree with any of this? Did I miss something? Does my hair look ugly? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Here at Startup Hack, we love taking software developers and training them in as little as 3 months. So make sure you check out the link down below, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down on the channel here for you. We really appreciate it, and I make sure I read and respond to all the comments. We'll catch you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because we bring you lots of great tutorials and tips that every developer should know. See you next time.